These 4 heads are all taking part in the leadership program for serving head teachers, the LPSH. The group first came together during a 3-day residential, and over the next few weeks we'll follow them as they probe and question each other about leadership.
And stuck with and didn't necessarily go out and use other styles. So rather than now just going out and doing things when new things crop up, I'm actually a bit more reflective about how I'm going to go about it. So I now recognise that sometimes I need to use the authoritative style more, and we've just had an Ofsted, we've got lots of things to do, and it's going to be necessary for me to use that leadership style more and using sort of pace setting for the next sort of term.
You also have shared this information with your deputy,
yes.
And you explained to us as we were going around the classes that you're both going to engage in pace setting now. Why have you chosen that style?
Because we're likely to have an Ofsted in the next 3 years, so we've got 3 years, and you can't achieve a lot in 3 years, so we've got to get systems and a change sort of culture going on quite quickly, particularly for the next term, so that we can start making an impact on children's learning quickly.
So the paperwork, the box underneath the table, that really has had a big impact.
Yes, and I think I need to work even harder on them to get out and about even more, because there have been weeks when I haven't been as successful as other weeks, and I haven't managed to get out to classrooms because of meetings and paperwork at high times when things come through.
Do you feel successful? Do you
I feel as if I'm halfway there. I don't feel as if I'm 100% there. I still feel that I need to make more time to commit to going out and about. Hello Leah, can I come and join you? So what lesson are you doing? What topic are you doing? Rome and the Romans.
Have there been any staff that haven't responded well? Because it's quite invasive, isn't it, having a head teacher just strolling into the classroom?
No, not at all. Everybody's been very welcoming. And when I came back to share my golden moment, I shared it with all the staff and said this was one of my actions. I was going to be out and about in classrooms more, and it would be informal. It wasn't formal monitoring. And a couple of members of staff said, "Oh, brilliant! We're looking forward to that. It'd be nice to have you out and about more." I think today's visit went really well. It was lovely to have them to come down to the school and to be able to talk about Ashford Park and share that with colleagues. And I think all of us are feeling now from the visits that we're beginning to understand a little bit more about each other's backgrounds in the schools, which is actually, I think, going to help strengthen our co-coaching group when we go forward to get more feedback. And the school climate's going to mean more to us because of having visited the different schools.
Good morning, everybody. Right, did you all have a good holiday then? Yes? Great, pleased to be back. That was a bit slower off the mark that time, never mind. OK, are there any messages?
It's the first day back after the mid-term break for the children of Milton on Stour Primary School in Dorset. As well as welcoming the children, James is preparing for the arrival of his co-coaching group. This is their second visit to the school, and they have come back to see how well James is meeting his leadership objectives.
When the head teachers from my co-coaching group came in the beginning of the autumn term, the areas that they picked up were ones that I had been aware of, but actually had never given sufficient time to analyse myself. The questionnaires showed up that there was a lack of clarity in direction, that things would happen, but people perhaps didn't know why or what part that played in the way the school was moving forward.
In 2006, after a successful Ofsted inspection, James introduced a cross-curricular approach across all the year groups.
Where the children have just had to pass an initiation test to get into the classroom by learning a Roman password, which is entertaining, I think.
They're sat in the corridor.
So this is year 5 and 6. Children here literally within the first 20 minutes of a new project. Whole area of cross-curricular learning has come about since we started the programme, and trying to build a bit more creativity into the work that the children are able to do. And this is now the 5th topic that the children have done and have learned so much and are able to apply the skills that they learn in their English lessons into all the other areas.
I started to look into ways in which we could adapt what we were teaching, still to cover obviously the national curriculum, but being able to make the learning opportunities much more relevant for the children, which is when the idea for a much more cross-curricular approach came in.
And how much support have you had to give to teachers in terms of non-contact time to allow them to generate this kind of topic?
We've had significant inset day time put aside for the development of the curriculum and a number of staff meetings, and their PPA time, particularly in Key Stage 1, is very useful in that they can plan together. And it's been quite remarkable actually how creative they are becoming.
The most recent changes have mainly happened with the existing teaching staff, and they've been hugely adaptable and very keen to work as a unit.
This is class 3, where we've got children who are in years 3 and 4, and they're having a review of their last half-term's project, which was called BRRR, as you can see from the type on there, where they were looking at all the aspects of insulation, heat retention, evaporating, and working out how climate change is going to affect them. So a real topical topic.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is, obviously you mentioned earlier this is your deputy head's project for her MPQH.
Yes.
And presumably she's doing that because she wants to be a head teacher, which is going to leave you in a situation where you've got to keep this going. How are you going to, how do you see that happening?
I think, yes, obviously MPQH is a great springboard into headship, and as a whole school project, this is ideal because it became her project, having already been something that we've been working on as a whole staff. At the moment, we are still embedding it as a system, and it's going to take some little while before everybody is entirely comfortable with planning their own topics from scratch. So you just
working in a small school, I think probably I've found distributed leadership quite difficult, and this has been great for me to be able to pass over some of the new ways of working for the staff. I think it's always been a wish of mine to help people move forward, and whether that's the children or staff, it's been very important for me to know that people feel that they've got ownership of the different initiatives that we've put in place.
One of the things you were looking at was clarity, wasn't it, to your leadership? So how have you managed to make sure that this whole project with the cross-curriculum has helped you to develop the clarity, and what's worked and what hasn't worked?
I think always staff will feel most comfortable with familiarity, and sometimes letting that familiar territory go can be quite unnerving, and so we've worked really hard and tried to make sure that everything is clear in the way that the project is moving forward.
And it genuinely is cross-curricular, isn't it? 'Cause that little girl that we saw this morning, when I said to her, so is this English or history that you're doing? And she said, I don't know, we're just learning.
Yes.
So, you know, that's learning at its best, isn't it?
If you were going to do a project like this again, because this is quite a huge project, isn't it, for a school, is there anything that you would, or from this point onwards, you would do to develop your learning further as a leader?
I think that it has taught me an awful lot about the way teachers are learners, and maybe I have made assumptions about teachers' learning styles that I need to take more care of in the future. But I think if I were to be introducing another project as so far away from what we've been doing in the past, I would want to make sure that everybody had more time before we actually started in order to clarify their views.
Linked to that, James, we talked again when we last visited about, and I think all of us reflected on this, that it's quite hard sometimes to challenge underperformance. Has this helped you to do that?
Very much so. The way that the staff have been able to work has been much more of a way of self-supporting which has really meant that in many ways underperformance hasn't been there, because everybody has been trying extremely hard to take on board all the new initiatives that have developed from this.
The other head teachers come from very different schools from this one, and their input in the feedback of how far down the route towards improvement we've gone has been very encouraging. They have the ability and the honesty to ask challenging and probing questions, which has been excellent for me to become more reflective. And I think in headship there's little time necessarily for reflection, and having people who make you stop and think why you're doing things is invaluable.
As the final part of the LPSH programme, the group comes together one more time. Here they are presented with another set of data from their staff, outlining their progress since they began the course.
I feel quite empowered by the feedback that I've been given. Some of the things that I wanted to change have actually changed.
I'm going to carry on trying to improve the clarity, because obviously there is still in my data a discrepancy between the ideal and the actual.
It's quite powerful how when you use your different leadership styles for a short period of time, how things change while you're going through that period of developing one area.
I guess the real challenge for myself is that it is a completely new team I should be working with, so all the valuable work that's been done and the conversations with my current team of staff is going to change.
And after 5 days of learning about leadership and all the various school visits, what do they feel they have gained personally?
I think I've gained an understanding through the course of my behaviour traits, my natural leadership styles, ones that I use naturally, and leadership styles that I need to develop and use more frequently.
I've learnt a lot more about myself and the areas that I needed to develop into becoming a more effective head, and I'm very pleased that the impact has been noticed by my colleagues in school.
It has been very much an opportunity for self-reflection and to understand myself more, which I've been able to achieve with the support of the colleagues through the co-coaching group.
I've learned about leadership styles and how they can be used to best effect, and the different situations, and actually working with my co-coaching group has given me the opportunity to discuss those things in more detail. I feel much happier in my role as head as well.
We were talking to some of the others from the other co-coaching groups, and each time they arranged something, the head had cancelled it. And Anne was saying about if we vocalise it, we do it, and I think we've all done that. Yeah. Perhaps more so because the TV crew have been here, but we have done it.
Well, I never say anything. I never get a word in edgeways anyway, so...
That's the beauty of working with three women.
Well, I know. I think probably if I'd been left to my own devices, I would never have met up with myself, so...